friends, I am here to do the mid-year calm down tag, which was created by Leandra at the TBR Zero. I've seen a couple different tags going around, and I know that last year I did the mid-year freak out tag, but I like the vibe of the calm down tag. It's just where I'm at right now. And I know this isn't a weather channel, but I always give you a weather update. It is hot in Atlanta. I went for my walk this morning at 7:30 and it was like a wall of humidity because it had stormed overnight, and that's just our summer. So I want to be in the AC, preferably with fans on, because also fan noise is white noise to me, and it calms. So let's get into the tag. And I like that it is just kind of prompt words and then a question, but also there's flexibility in answering it. So the first prompt word is thankfulness. What 2025 has given me thus far? And without a doubt, my answer is the same as Leandra's was. It's this community. The booktube community is something I never expected. When I started watching booktube videos back in the global pandemic, I just was looking for stuff to watch and found this community, and it's been such a blessing. As some of you may know, I moved earlier this year, and it kind of consumed my March, April, and June. No, March, April, May. There's that May. I was just kind of consumed by all that, really, because I had to find a place, I had to pack, I had to do the physical moving, and then I had to unpack. And I'm not completely unpacked yet either. But the support. I don't know any of you all or the people that I'm friends with on booktube in real life. So it sort of sometimes feels removed a bit, but the morning of my move, I woke up to several messages from friends on booktube just wishing me well, saying prayers for the move, all those things. And it was so amazing. It was so amazing. And even, we are talking about 2025, but even last year at the end of the year in the fall, I lost my beagle, Remy, who was a big part of my life, and was featured here on the channel. And the support that I got during that time was incredible as well. I also am just thankful that there are things like buddy reads. I've done 6 buddy reads already this year and loving it. I've got more planned. Just the comments and the messages, some book mail, some surprise gifts through the mail has just been a pleasant surprise, and just something I'm very thankful for. So the next one is Relaxation, the most relaxing book I've read. This is kind of an obvious answer, but also a book that I hope everyone will read, and that is Rest is Resistance by Tricia Hershey. I ended up listening to this on a trip, and it was just kind of it had been on my radar, but it was kind of a random, hey, this is available on Libby. I wasn't loving the audiobook I had at the time, so I started listening to it, and it's an amazing book. It is about rest being a form of activism, resistance to our society of go, productivity. You are basically what you do for a living, and you just have to keep climbing the ladder faster, better, more, like all those things. And then Trisha Hershey, as a Black woman, looks and delves into the most specific group that rest is resistance for is Black women who historically have been caregivers and then domestic workers, and how they have really shouldered a lot of the care community that we, or the care needs of our country, and that rest can be a form of that political activism, political resistance, that you're not, as a person, you're not gonna give in to that bigger, better, more kind of mentality. So I would highly recommend. It's a great audiobook. Trisha Hershey reads it herself. The next prompt is Hydration, a book I needed. This one was a little hard just because my reading has been kind of spotty this year. As mentioned before, the 3 months of being totally consumed by a move. But I did really like Days at the Morisaki Bookshop by Satoshi Yagasawa, translated by Eric Ozawa. First of all, it's set in a bookstore. Love that. But just a story of a woman who is going through a lot of changes in her life, and having that feeling of, she goes to her uncle's bookshop, which she did spend time at when she was younger, and she's kind of hesitant to even go there, but she goes there and she gets and finds sort of that calm, comfortable place where she can kind of reset. And I think that is just, to me, a delightful picture of having that place to rest and rethink things, and kind of, if you need a redirection, or just kind of spend time in yourself and just figure out what's next. So I really liked that. Nourishment, a book that energized me. Now this is going to be surprising of what book came to mind. All Fours by Miranda July. I will link below my review of this book. I did go on a rant about it. I ended up rating this a 3-star read because, I won't get into that part, but just go watch my thoughts on it. But what energized me about this book is a number of things. First off, reading for kind of a critical review process, which I haven't done in a long time, but I do really enjoy. There's definitely the reading for pleasure, which is what I do the majority of the time. And this was reading for pleasure, technically, because nobody assigned it to me. I wanted to read it because of all the hype, and I have been looking for more fiction that has a main character, a woman in their 40s, which this has. I was hesitant to read it because of the trope of which a woman in her 40s is kind of struggling with life and goes on a trip and meets a younger man. And that's just not a trope that I love, mainly because it seems to be the only trope that I have found in books about women in their 40s, which is just frustrating because that's not the only thing that happens to women in their 40s, or that, could happen. But I liked reading this because there were things that I related to. There were things that parts of the book brought up in my mind and in my life, just what I'm experiencing as a woman in my 40s. And it just sort of made me think that I had a voice, if that makes sense. I do book reviews, but I always think, well, I'm not very good at doing this, and I'm not very articulate about how I feel about a book. But I specifically went into this book and knowing that I was going to do a deep dive, that I was going to do a full review. And so I'm not going to do that for every book, but it did kind of energize me to do that about some books. So there's that to look forward to. All right, Familiarity, an author I returned to. At the beginning of the year, I went to my first book event, and I actually flew to the book event. It was in my sister's town, and that's something I've never done before. So it was just the experience of it, and then meeting the author was really cool. I've never done a book event before, but then the book was also good. And that is Alice Feeney's Beautiful Ugly. I love the cover. She was a delight to meet. And this is just classic Alice Feeney. Alice Feeney writes thrillers that are compulsive to read, and you think you're figuring it out, and then in the end, you're not really at all, and you finish the book like, what, how, where, yeah. So it was just a great overall experience, and it definitely made me want to do more book events. And I'm excited because Alice Feeney has another book coming out in 2026. I feel like she has a good schedule going where she comes out with a book kind of in the beginning of each year, and that's great for me. I'm excited. Okay, so the next prompt is a healthy risk outside of my comfort zone, new to me author. So I feel like for this, I'm gonna talk about the judging the booktube prize. I did the first round of judging before all the moving stuff happened, and I judged nonfiction. And I love nonfiction. I read a good bit of it. However, the books that I was assigned in the booktube prize were books that I really wouldn't gravitate towards. And it made me appreciate, like, my favorite of all of them was a surprise to me. And I think just kind of made me interested in reading those deep dive nonfiction again. The one that I liked the most was The Siege by Ben McIntyre, I think. It's been a while since I read those, but it was about an event that happened, and it read like a thriller, trying to figure out how things were going to end. And it took all in me not to look it up on Wikipedia, what actually happened, because it was, factual event. So that's the one thing about nonfiction is I want to rush and figure out what happened, but it was a great read, and that was definitely out of my comfort zone. A couple of the other ones that I read, Byron by Andrew Schaefer, and this was a look at Lord Byron, who I like his poetry, okay? I'm not a huge fan, but it took some of the letters that he wrote and related it to parts of his life and poems that he wrote. The format of it was weird. My only access to it was audio, so it was just a weird reading experience. And not like I learned anything new about Byron, I didn't feel like. But again, I was an English major in college, and yeah, we did study Lord Byron. I had a professor that was like a Byron expert, and we read all of it. That just wasn't my thing. So that was a great experience, and a great to get outside of my comfort zone. A reflection is changes in reading taste. So this has kind of hit me throughout the year, and currently in that space where I know I like literary fiction. It's probably the thing that I go towards most of the time, and literary fiction and memoirs. They tend to be heavy topics, and then I feel like, okay, I've read multiple books over a couple of weeks time, and I am just drained because the books have been emotional. They've just been hard topics that maybe I relate to, like most recently about grief and losing a parent. So I'm trying to get more into lighter reads. So if you have suggestions of lighter reads, please let me know. Detox, a book habit I'm leaving behind. This was unintentional, but now it's intentional, and that is reading less. I know I've heard a number of people talk about reading less. Specifically, I am more focused on not rushing through reads just to have content to film, because then I don't enjoy it, or I get overwhelmed, and I just want to enjoy reading. So not keeping up with the booktube masses of reading 20 books a month, that's just, I can't do it, and that's okay. I still enjoy my reads, and I want to focus on that enjoyment. Positivity, anticipated book or event. As I mentioned earlier, I have not met any of my booktube friends in real life, and I have a meetup planned with one of my favorites, and you'll have to subscribe and come back to find out who that is. Some of you may already know, but I'm excited just to actually, I get the face on the TV, but to actually meet in person and just become that in real life friend as well, I think is an amazing thing. I've hoped to do more of that in maybe this year, maybe next year, do some road trips to meet some people. And then looking ahead, personal plans or goals. Again, that's one of them, is to meet more of my booktube friends in real life. I also, as I already mentioned, I want to be very intentional with my reading and not focusing so much on the numbers, just reading what I enjoy. More on that to come with how I'm going to do my August TBR. And then I set some goals for myself at the beginning of the year, and I'm doing awful on them, and I'm gonna let myself off the hook on that because it's been a big year for me, and just wanting to focus on reading for enjoyment. I don't want to read books just because they're on a list. I said I would read them, and I haven't. And that's okay. I'm not going to unhaul them. I'm not going to rush through them. I'm still I still have the list, and I want to get to them, but I'm not going to make it my ultimate priority because I'm also way behind, and that would just add some overwhelm to my plate, and I just don't want to do that. That's all the questions. Let me know in the comments if you have any answers to these. I'd love to know kind of what your goal is or what you want to do with your reading for the rest of the year. Just let me know in the comments. I love talking with you all there, and like I said, I'm very thankful for this booktube community, and you all have welcomed me into it and have supported me through some hard times, and also just been a joy to talk to and get to know. Thank you for being here. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe, and I will see you all very soon. Bye.